can hear me okay? All right. I'd like to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for coming. This is a really, really nice turnout, and we appreciate each and every one of you coming this evening. 245 years ago today, this park wasn't here, but the Continental Congress determined what our flag was going to look like. And that's why today is called Flag Day. So I very much would appreciate it if we could all stand and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. You guys are great. Another thing that needs to be said before we get started is the unfortunate event of last Thursday and the tornado. And if anybody's here that was affected by it, and you need anything that the HOA can do, or neighbors helping neighbors, please let us know. And we're all praying for everybody to be made whole as soon as possible. Okay. I think we know why we're here. So tonight, the only thing we're going to talk about is the letter we got from the Wynnes. So at our last HOA meeting on June 2nd, we had a 90-minute presentation where we went through from the beginning to the end this entire dispute and legal process. And it just wouldn't do to rehash that all tonight. We did put the PowerPoint presentation from that meeting on our HOA website. So if you weren't at that meeting and you want to see what we talked about, you certainly go in and run through it. It's a PDF, so you don't need PowerPoint to look at it. And if you have any questions, get in touch with somebody on the board or the dispute committee, and we'll be glad to talk to you about it.
Bill, it's under reference documents.
Yes, it's under reference documents. And the website address is SpanishLakesGolfHOA.com. And I'm guessing that, well, I'd be surprised if there weren't some questions out there. But if we could hold our questions until the end of the presentation, hopefully your question will get answered as we go along. Our HOA, Articles of Incorporation, say that the purpose of this corporation is to promote and protect the general welfare, health, safety, and happiness of the homeowners of Spanish Lakes Golf Village, and to represent the homeowners pursuant Chapter 723 Florida statutes and the bylaws of the corporation. And that is what we're trying to do, to represent you. The HOA itself has a mission statement to be the advocate and the voice of all our members and residents, and that's important. If you're not a member, you're a resident, and we're here for you, even if you're not a member. And to maintain an association that will work collaboratively with the park owners for the benefit of Golf Village residents. Unfortunately, a collaboration takes the cooperation of two parties. And to strive to make life pleasurable and fun for all village residents. Right now, we're probably not having a whole heck of a lot of fun. I want to get some definitions out of the way before we start. You know, we talk about laws, we talk about rules, we talk about regulations. There's a difference. I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you what the difference is, but there is a difference. So I'm probably going to use those interchangeably tonight. And it's because I don't know the difference, but I'm not trying to bamboozle anybody when I say law. It could be technically a regulation, but that's what I'm going to call it. Florida statutes, chapter 723 is entitled Mobile Home Park Lot Tenancies. It's, 60 pages, 80 pages, it's long. And it covers everything about the relationship between park owners and the people who live here. And that's called a Florida statute, so in my weak legal mind, that's a law. So when I talk about the law, I'm talking about this Florida statute, 723. Because Florida's 723, it's not an option. It's enforceable by the courts. So if it says you got to do something, you got to do it. If it says you can't do something, you can't do it, period. So if I talk about law, regulation, I'm talking about 723. And if I say it's illegal, when I say illegal, what I mean is it violates Florida Chapter 723 as our attorney understands it. So just to sum up, I'm not an attorney, I'm not here to give you a legal opinion. We're just here trying to explain things as we understand it. Now on May 17th, Susan, accidentally got an email. It's a Wynne inter-office email. And it's probably one of the first mistakes they made. And I want to show you what that email said. We're going to be sending out mailings to Gulf Village residents, Country Club Village mobile homeowners, and Spanish Lakes 1 mobile homeowners. We will be sending the mailings to both local and northern addresses. There will also be a self-addressed stamped envelope included for the residents to return the signed form to us. We said, whoa, I wonder what that letter's going to say. And then they said, the balance in the postage meter should be $6,099.84 after our check clears. And I'm preparing another $3,000 check to replenish. So it looks to me like they're intending to spend about $9,000 on postage. Oh, excuse me. So your dispute committee and board put a warning letter in everybody's mailbox to tell you that this letter was coming. And where we had people's email addresses, we emailed it. And we said we don't know what the letter's going to say. But all we wanted to do was to urge people to be cautious and not to sign anything and send it back until we could look at it and see what it actually said. Have a meeting, which we're doing right now, to talk about it. So, I'm going to go through the letter, basically one line at a time, and tell you everything that's wrong with it. I tried very hard, but I could not find anything wrong with dear resident. I'm writing this letter in an effort to resolve the current rental increase dispute between the homeowners committee and the parks. This dispute is about a lot more than rent, and they know it, but they're trying to make it a rent issue. We gave them a 50-page document about everything that's wrong, and about 2 pages had to do with rent. I will further say that we could resolve this right now, tonight. If Joe Wynne walked through that back door and we had a legally binding document that said they would obey the law, this dispute would be over. And that's really all we're asking for. We just want them to do what they're supposed to do and not do what the law says they're not allowed to do. This is not an attempt to resolve anything. This is an attempt to make us give up. That's all it is. And then he says, we opened Spanish Lakes in Port St. Lucie in 1970. In all that time, we have not had any lawsuits against us by any homeowners groups or committees. He said, whoa, really? Even if that was true, it does not mean we don't have a case, but he's trying to make you think that we don't have a case because nobody ever sued us before. He's saying the poor Wynnes, the nasty homeowners are picking on them. This suggests that they have never been sued. He didn't say it, but he's suggesting, well, 1970, 52 years ago, we've never been sued. Just wait till you see the next slide. Everybody in here knows how to Google, right? I'm going to show you what happens when you Google lawsuits against the Wynne Building Corporation. 4,200,000 hits. Now, they haven't been sued that many times, but they've been talked about that many times. And the one, I didn't look at any of the, I didn't search 4 million to see if they were sued by a committee. But the one at the bottom, and I don't know what it was about, but they were actually sued by the Disabled Patriots of America. I would be embarrassed about that. Then he says this has changed because of actions, as a result of actions taken by a homeowners committee and their attorney. They're being sued because they will not do what Florida Statute 723 says they have to do. They're trying to blame the dispute committee, and our attorney is being the cause of this whole problem. So, it's like they're saying, well, these people are doing this, and you need to know about it because they're doing this, and it's like, no, you are the people that told us to do it. Okay, we can't do anything unless 51% of the people that live here agree to what we're doing. And that's why you all signed that statement of dispute. We had 65% of our residents signed it. The other 35%, for the most part, weren't here. Okay, we had very, very few people actually just say, no, I won't sign it. Then he says, last summer we sent you a letter detailing our rental increase plan for the coming year. We proposed a 3.5% increase along with 50% of the property taxes. What he didn't say was that the tax pass-through was illegal. Okay, totally illegal. You pass through anything. You can pass through like a utility bill. I mean, it's in 723. But if they pass through the taxes, after taxes, and it was $34.35 a month for everybody, if they do that, the law says they have to decrease the rent by the same amount. So your rent should have gone down $34.35, and then you pay the taxes and you end up paying the same amount of money. That's what made it illegal. And that's what started this whole thing. They were trying to illegally suck more money out of us, and that's when people said, this is enough. Then this is, sometimes you just can't believe things. It's just like, okay. But I'm going to go through this. Then in his letter he says, on a $650 lot rent, that would have been about a $46.95 increase. What's about? Do you know how to calculate what the increase is, or don't you? Well, as a matter of fact, they don't know how to calculate it. Okay, now we're going back to second grade. This isn't rocket science. An increase of 3.5% on $650 is $22.75. The pass-through of 50 cents or 50% of the taxes was $34.35. The total was $57.10. Where the hell did $46.95 come from? There's a reason for it, and you'll see what it was in a minute. The CPI at that time, the Consumer Price Index, the month that letter was mailed was 5%. And that meant that legally they could only increase your burden by 5%, your rent burden. Okay, the actual increases for everybody living in this park, the smallest thing, because we get, you get your rent notice, your rent's going up in 3 months, we get a copy of those. And they are required by law to send them to us so we know what they're doing. So we know what everybody's rent was. The person living in this park that would have been affected the least would have paid over 8% increase, and they were only entitled to 5%. A lot of people would have been paying almost 12% increase. They don't tell you that. This was objected to by your committee and their attorney. Well, geez, are you really surprised at that? They forgot to add See, we're back now, they're driving a wedge between us and you. This was objected to by your committee and their attorney. How many people in here that are not the attorney or the committee objected to this crap? They're not telling you that. They were breaking the law, and they have the audacity to blame the mess they created on us because we said no. They attempt to justify their illegal actions by not telling the whole truth. They're really good. The best way to lie is to tell a partial truth. It's the best way to lie. So now, as a result, we're back to Joel Wynne now. As a result, we rescinded the plan and replaced it with CPI, Consumer Price Index, as stated in your lease agreement. They didn't do that because we objected. They did it because we were just a few days away from a mediation where they would have been told they were wrong. That's why they rescinded it. So the new plan, it's illegal too. Because everything says that they, once a year they increase the rent for everybody. Now they're doing it on a month-by-month basis. And that is illegal, in our opinion and in our attorney's opinion. To make matters worse, many of the increases were done without the required 90-day notice. Now, here we go again. And then Joel says that the current maximum rate of 7.5%, the increase is now $47. I think Joel still hasn't learned how to do his numbers. 7.5%, $650 is $48.75. Now, that's not a big difference. It's $1.75, right? Why do you think maybe they made the second mistake? If that's what it was, I don't know. Why might that be important? Maybe it's so he can say. So after all the fussing and threats we received, the actual result is a very slight increase in rent. It is if you use his numbers. First of all, we didn't threaten them. That's a lie. Standing up for your rights when somebody does something wrong is not a threat. Unless you're bringing it someplace it shouldn't be. We created the fuss, saying, hey, you're breaking the law and you need to stop. It's not creating the fuss, it's reacting to a fuss. And now to get back to this slight increase in rent. He has so many things wrong with a simple sentence, it's unbelievable. So the same statement, slight increase in rent. If you use their numbers, both of which were wrong, then it says that the original illegal plan would have cost $46.95 a month, and the second plan would cost $47. So they made the numbers come out that there was a 5-cent increase in rent. And you're supposed to be upset about that because we caused you to have a 5-cent a month increase in your rent. So, now that bad old attorney guy, man, he cost you 5 cents a month. In actuality, the original plan with the tax pass-through, with this $650 base, it wasn't 5 cents less than the second plan. It was $8.35 a month more. So they do that on purpose? I don't know. If it was up to me, I'd say, well, did you lie or are you too dumb to do math? I'd have to say, geez, let me think about that. I'll tell you the answer in a minute. If the original plan was allowed to stand, everyone in this park would have paid over 8%, and some people as much as 12% additional rent. And he doesn't tell you that we stopped that because we stood up to them. That's one of my all-time favorites right here. For many years, we have tried hard to keep the increase down. Here is a list of the increases we've charged. And then he puts a table in there with rent increases over 10 years, which were, I don't remember, 1.1%, 2.3%, you know, and as far as I can tell, they're accurate. And he says, you know, we could have charged 3.5%, but we didn't, because if you remember that original letter we got with all that crap in it, it said they were just so worried about the people that live here and their Social Security. Well, what they didn't tell you is over that 10-year period, and you can look this up, Social Security went up 17.7%. The CPI, the cost of buying things, went up 18.7%. So Social Security didn't do too bad with the CPI. We lost a little bit, 1%. So Social Security went up 17.7%. Your rent went up 28.9%. That's how good they were taking care of you. Okay? Now, I'm not making this up. Anybody can sit down and do the same calculation. So a person, and you can use any numbers you want. You can throw in a fixed pension, and the result is different but the same. A person starting with $1,000 in Social Security, $1,000 a month, and $500 in rent in 2011, after 10 years, lost 10.3% of 10% of their ability to buy necessities because of rent increases. But by God, they're doing everything they can to keep those rent increases down, aren't they? The above are facts. Are the facts. The above are the facts. Even though we could have raised the rent by 3.5% in all those years, we didn't. That is the fact. The fact is, they're trying to mislead you with that table by not telling you everything. They're not telling you what Social Security did. They're not telling you what your rent did. They're not telling you what the CPI did. So the fact is that over that 10-year period, their rent increases far outstripped Social Security, far outstripped the CPI. Everybody who lives here on retirement income lost the ability, some ability to buy necessities. That is a fact. But you know, they're nice, generous people. They're doing what they can to keep the rent down, and you know, we're picking on them. We need to stop picking on them. if the residents of our communities, you know, and I forgot, I didn't tumble to that, I didn't put it in here, but I'm going to tell you. It's not their community, it's our community. If they refuse to support this absurd lawsuit, we will renew our pledge to keep rents as low as possible. Most likely, we will be able to charge a little less than the CPI. I don't even know where to start with this one. Absurd. Demanding that the law be obeyed and responsibilities be met is absurd. Really? Keep rents as low as possible. Just look at their track record. Well, they're going to try to keep it a little below the CPI, so they can't charge more than the CPI even though they're trying. So what's a little less below the CPI? They're going to knock us up 7.4% instead of 7.5%? You know, big whoop. But you need to support them so you keep your rent low. This is a threat. They're telling you that your rent is going up. If you don't, sign a paper and send it back telling them that it's okay to break the law. How many people in here believe that this is a threat? Well, guess what? The judge is going to believe it too. To inject some fun. Oh, we're going to have fun, people. To inject some fun into all of this. We have established a lottery for those who support us in this matter. Whoa! 1 year free rent for the first 5 winners. If you choose to support us, we will send you a free lottery ticket. Well, baby, we're going to have fun, and it's free.
Nothing's free from that.
This is a bribe. It's a classic bribe. How many people here think this is a bribe? Well, guess what? The judge will think that too. The 3 parks, we have 3 parks that are engaged in this lawsuit. Us, Country Club, and Spanish Lakes 1. The 3 parks have a total of 2,655 manufactured homes. If everybody signs this and sends it back, you have a 0.19% chance of getting rent-free for a year. That's another example of their generosity. I don't think they did well in composition either. I mean, to me, this is a childish letter. That's my opinion. That, you know, they just dashed this out and said, they're a bunch of stupid old people, send it out to them, they're getting something for free, and they'll all sign it and send it back, and we'll be done. They didn't even bother to proofread it. Okay, now he says, the first 5 winners get 1 win free. Well, the next 10 get a color TV. I mean, is there something else? He says there is, but he doesn't tell us what it is. If I could figure it out, and I don't know how to do it, I would have 5 people sign that form and send it back. And they would be the 5 people that have the most precarious financial situation in the country. And just think about it. I mean, how are they going to handle this lottery? If they don't tell us who won, then we'll say, well, now maybe nobody won. If they do tell you who won, how would you like all your neighbors to find out if you sent that out?
It'll be in the weekly paper.
So please help us, help us. We help you, help us, and return the enclosed farm so that we can continue to bring the best value in 55 plus communities anywhere in the state of Florida. Who told them they were the best? What they really mean is, don't be mad that we're breaking the law. What they mean is, don't be mad that they continue to let our community physically deteriorate, although they are doing some things after the mediation, so we're grateful for that. Best value, how can we tell? I mean, everything else is said, but it's true, so this must be true too, right? And letting this place go physically deteriorate is the best value? No. Now, why are they doing this? Okay, let's look at what their attempt to threaten and bribe is costing them. Okay, they're paying for this. You remember they said that 5 winters are going to get 12 months free rent. The average rent's about $700. You know, it doesn't matter, it's $650, whatever, it's $700. That's $42,000 they're going to give up in rent. $42,000. If I had $42,000, I'd pay the attorney and we'd be done with it. According to the email that was leaked, they're spending somewhere around $9,000 just on postage. Remember, there's almost 6,000 letters we're sending here up north. It's $1, 53 cents for here, for the return, another $1.06. You're spending a lot of money just on postage. I'm guessing printing and envelopes is, I don't know, 5,000. That seems to be reasonable because they're going to be sending out 7,000 or 8,000 letters. So the total is $56,000. If those numbers are all right. So let's just say, because I don't want to be accused of saying something that isn't true, they're spending legitimately somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 on this stupid letter they sent out. And why are they doing it? I think it's because they know they're wrong and they know they're going to lose. And I believe that they are afraid of us. To summarize their letter, they left out everything they don't want you to know or think about. They did simple math errors that ended up being in their favor for the point they wanted to make. Multi-million-dollar company, they can't do a percentage. Not once, but twice. I mean, really? They said things that aren't true in there. They distorted some stuff. They made threats. They attempted bribery. Poor writing. That's an opinion, but it's my opinion. Wow. All those mistakes, errors, distortions, fabrications, missing facts, threats, and bribes crammed into a one-page letter. I don't believe they were able to do that. And what didn't they even say once? You all watch TV in the news and people that get arrested or they're accused of this or accused of that. Or the cop shows on TV and they go and they get the guy that did the wrong. What's the first thing they say? I didn't do it, I'm not guilty. They've never in here said that they didn't do what we're accusing them of doing because they know they did it. They must really think we're pretty stupid. We did a letter, a response letter, and we put it in people's mailboxes. And if you think that this, if you agree with our position, what we would like you to do is take that letter, put it in the envelope, take the form they want you to sign, and just write a big fat no across it, or a big X. Put it in the envelope. You don't have to put your name if you don't feel like it. You know, back to the Wynnes. And I know you all have the letter, but I would like Susan, who prepared the letter, to read it. Okay, you can read it on the computer. Or do you want me to read it? Okay. So, in our letter, everything is true to the best of our ability to make it true. The math is accurate. We can substantiate everything we say. There are no threats. And there are no bribes. And there's a reason I want to read this, even though I know that you have it. Okay, thank you for your letter asking me to consider supporting the park owners in the present dispute. I have reviewed it carefully, and despite the fun lottery you are attempting to bribe us with, I will not be signing your form. For me, this is not one point of view versus another point of view. It is a question of right and wrong. The legal action we've taken is not an assault on the Wynne Corporation. It is a defense of our rights as homeowners. You prompted this response when you sent letters telling us you were illegally passing on land taxes. We got our HOA to defend us against this action. They hired an attorney on our behalf, and with the unanimous consent of members at the meeting, formed a homeowners dispute committee and worked diligently to block your illegal actions. Your letter implies that our efforts to defend ourselves against the pass-on tax are not worth the time, effort, and money. For the record, while the letter you sent purports to state facts, your facts are inaccurate. Well, I'm no mathematician. I calculated 3.5% increase on $650 lot rent, $22.75, with the added 34.35 tax passed through. On your proposal comes to an increase of $57.10 per month, not $46.95. This would have been an 8.8% increase. For someone with a lot rent of $449, the total increase would have been $50.07, an 11.2% increase. In fact, none of the increases were below 8%, some were nearly 12%. That was outrageous, and that's why we banded together to fight it. We were very relieved when the proposed tax pass-through was withdrawn, and our committee agreed not to continue to mediation. And that's true. That was a happy day when they rescinded that. The board of directors went out to dinner to celebrate. We paid for it, the HOA did, but we went out to celebrate. We said, by God, we did it. But unfortunately, it wasn't over. Unfortunately, you immediately reignited the conflict with further illegal actions, such as increasing rent without justification, without proper notice, and without addressing critical maintenance and service issues guaranteed under state statute stated in our prospectus. We again signed statements to dispute, giving our committee authority to take matters to litigation and even appeal if necessary. We were and are committed to defending ourselves by seeing this through. In arbitration and litigation, our attorney will argue that you, the park owners, are not entitled to any lot rent increase because you are not providing maintenance and services required by the prospectus. And state law gives the court the ability to say you get no rent increase until you fix this. This is supported by more than 50 pages of documentation, including photos and narrative. If we prevail, the rent increase would be withdrawn, representing a collective savings of more than $300,000 to over 700 owners in this park. For this year alone, our attorney believes we have a very strong case. If that fails, we'll argue that the 3.5% in the original rent increase notice would then take effect. So instead of most of you are having a 7.5% increase, that'd be knocked back to 3.5%. And that has to be maintained through the next 11 months. That is not only established in the Florida statutes, but supported by years of precedents and many letters issued and signed by Wynne family members. If we prevail, the rent increases would be reduced and represent a collective savings of more than $160,000 to over 700 homeowners. There's a lot of money at stake here. Our attorney believes this also is very strong. And if that fails, we'll go back to the 5% CPI that existed at the time that the original letter went out. And again, it's a collective savings. In November and December of last year, 2021, in January and February of this year, 2022, those folks whose rents were increased in those 4 months, the rent increase was totally illegal. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more in a bit. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. Well, none of us wants this conflict you started and have continued it with unfair and illegal practices, and we have to defend ourselves. In all cases, action or lack thereof is contrary to state statute 723, our prospectus, usual customary practice, and our probability of a favorable verdict is high. We will see you in court. That's the letter. Thank you, Susan, for that magnificent letter. I want to get back to this 90-day thing now. I just want to show you. I'm trying to think of an acceptable term, and it's not coming to mind. I just want to show you how they are. Let's put it that way. Florida statute 723.031. See, this is legal talk. You're supposed to be impressed with me now. It's entitled Mobile Home Lot Rental Agreements. And subsection 5D says, If a notice of increase in lot rental amount is not given 90 days before the renewal date of the rental agreement, the rental agreement must remain under the same terms until a 90-day notice of increase in lot rental amount is given. In other words, you have to tell people your rent is going up at least 90 days before it goes up. And then the same thing is stated again a different way in 723-037, lot rental increases. And this is where it says, hey, you know, you can't reduce services. So rents were illegally collected for 4 months. I mean, anybody with any kind of reasoning ability at all can read that statute and say, you have to give people 90 days notice. That's what it says. So the rent increases for those 4 months were the only rent increase notices that we know of that were missing a statement. Every rent increase that we received from the Wynne Corporation prior to November of last year and after February of this year had the following statement. If you have an old rent increase, look at it. Pursuant to section 723-037 Florida statutes, this serves as a 90-day notice of lot rental amount increase for residents in your part with lease renewal dates effective on the date noted above. So they're telling you this is your 90-day notice. The increases, if you were one of these 4 months, pull your notice out of what? That statement isn't there. It disappeared out of the rent increase notices for 4 months. The 4 months where they were illegally collecting increased rent. That's what happened in March of this year. Oh, statement's back in there. Why would they do that? In fact, it wasn't just 90 days. The November people, the rent was collected 126 days before they were notified that it was going up. The December people had 97 days. It had 67 and 36 days. What that meant was that they took for the November people, they took rent out 2 months before they even notified them the rent was going up. For December, they took it out for 1 month. The total illegal rent increase for those 4 months for our friends and neighbors in this park was over $8,000 that they took illegally. And we've asked them to turn it back, and they won't even admit they did anything wrong. I believe that notice disappeared out of those 4 months because they knew that they were breaking the law, and they said, geez, you know, maybe we should put that in there because it's probably not a good idea to tell people we're breaking the law. Okay, what you do with the Wynne's request, you know, that's up to you. I mean, everybody looks at things a different way. We appreciate the opportunity to tell you the way we're looking at things. Now, we really hope that you'll put an X through there for them and send it back along with our letter. If you already signed the form and wish you hadn't, I suggest that you send them a letter saying you're rescinding the rescission. And send us a copy, because they're going to try to use this to knock signatures off of the statement of dispute. They're going to try to get us down below 51%. And if they do, then they're going to argue that, you know, we don't have enough support to go to court. And we're going to say we do. And this letter is going to be part of the lawsuit. And we're going to go to the judge and say, this is bribery, this is a threat, it's against 723. They talk about unfair practices and the truth, and it's definitely a problem there. Okay.